This is a release of a big new feature called Studio Detail Views. So essentially you can now use Studio to manage your detail views for things like modules and for web apps. So on this site, if you go to any of your modules, so blog for example, and when you click view table, as long as you assign a Studio detail page here, you will then see the Studio tab appear. You can then click Studio, and then you get the normal Studio editor, and essentially what you can do is pull in static sections. So let's pull in just a normal header area of text for the moment. So let's do this one. So what we're actually doing is, because this is the blog module, it's automatically set those fields up with a data source of blog, but it's defaulted everything as mapped to name. So if we just click update field map, it's automatically set to this detail page content. So what that's going to do, that means that for every item it will be different. So we've only got 2 items here, but we can preview the 2 different items. So then we can do the field mapping. So if we do dashboard image and we set that to list image, and then if we set title to name, content to content, then you could have a button text could be through to the title, and then the button URL would be the slug. So this obviously is going to link to itself. So you wouldn't, in this case, you probably wouldn't have a button at all. You would just have the text of what's in this item. So the blog post name, the blog post text, and you'll see the buttons there, but just in a second, if we go back and we remove any content, so these are now set to not be dynamic, these fields, these are set to be static. And if the liquid's set up properly in the layout, then if you've got no content, the image would disappear, the button would disappear. We can change that very easily in the layout, but this is just an example for now. So we could also put in a different type of layout. Let's say you wanted to have something a little bit more visual. This is just the Flowbyte free layouts for the moment, but let's show something else, which would be actually putting in some static content as well. So let's say you wanted to do a call to action on every page, every blog post, sorry. So we will just put in this one here. You might be just mentioning 3 things about the blog post or about the website that you're working on. So we'll update this one, we'll turn this off completely, and we'll make it static. And then under statistics, which is the list, we'll just add some items. So you can see here that we've now got 3 static items where you can manage the content, and then the dynamic content up here, which is the blog post itself. If we click save module, and then we go to the blog, I'll open it in a new window, new tab. We can then go to this blog post and we can preview it. And now that has that detail view set up. So it's dynamically pulling out the content in that blog post. So that is the name and the content essentially, and any list image. So let's put a list image in here. Doesn't matter what it is, and then refresh. So this is the blog post layout. We've created that without touching any code. That is, if you now go to blog, you would see a list of all your blog posts on the site. And then if you went into one of those blog posts, this is the detail that we've just created. So you can create sections with dynamic content from the web app or module itself. You can put static content in, but you could also put in dynamic content from somewhere else. So let's say we want to pull in some testimonials. So we'll pull in the team grid here. Automatically again going to map this, but what we'll actually do is we'll set that to none, and we'll set team members to be testimonials. And there's no data source link there, but what we're going to do is we'll sort by latest, let's say, then the member image. So this is now an image from the testimonials web app, or module, sorry. And then the name, the job title would be job title, description. Let's just do a few of these quickly. Quote maybe. And let's so we haven't set up that image quite right, I don't think, but just to prove the point, and refresh this page. The detail page for the blog now has this section on it here, and it's pulling out items from a different dynamic area. So in this case, testimonials. Obviously you can fix the layout very easily. So you're able to do dynamic content from itself, static content, and dynamic content from elsewhere in lists or in fields. It's very easy to use because it's exactly the same as the rest of the studio, but it's extremely powerful because it saves you having to essentially write all the code that you'd normally write for list views and for detail views, sorry. The UI has been updated a little bit here just to make things a little bit easier. There used to be a button top right, but it was this little icon and it was just a little hard to know what was going on. So now everything is done here. And you've got this button to take you off to the actual web app or data source. Obviously you can still go into the items and manage them from here, which is a really powerful feature. Again, if you clicked here, you would be able to see the data source is the blog and a link off to take you to the blog itself. Any questions? Let us know. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you.